filming, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right then.
Alright, yeah.
Okay. Mushroom.
Huh?
Does it look like I'm playing with little iron balls?
Yeah.
Yeah? Like that?
Are we sending this to Justin, or is this for your own enjoyment?
Oh, it could be any. Both, really. I'm here at the former home. I'm here at the former home of Anne Lister. I'm here at the former home of Anne Lister, celebrated as the UK's first modern lesbian, which literally isn't true. I mean, logistically, that's just not true. And she was a Tory. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about human rights, a subject to which I'm sure you will all find edifying on this video game criticism show that has never been political, or at least not until I started becoming 48 Steph. Content warning, I suppose, for, well, rampant amounts of queerphobia, misogyny, and the stripping of human rights and bodily autonomy, plus some major league corporate cowardice. The mainstream game industry is led by spineless, pathetic cowards. This is not news. This is not a secret. The politically craven centrism and worthless posturing of the so-called AAA video game business has been a key component of its operating model for decades. It's an industry that has, as I pointed out years ago, historically exploited political imagery for the sake of marketing while lacking the backbone to actually say anything with said imagery. I've lost count of the amount of games that want to utilise themes of populism, terrorism, political upheaval, fighting for or against the government, only for the developers to claim they're not making any political statements. Most famously, Ubisoft pulled this shit with Tom Clancy's The Division, a game that opened with a pro-gun message and was literally about money being weaponized against a capitalist society. For such a powerful and wealthy market, video game makers are fucking weak when it comes to committing to any substantial message with the art they produce. That's the word for it too. They are weak. Miserably, pitifully, goddamn fucking weak. They're content to use political imagery all day long, but are so terrified of taking even the most downright decent of stances for fear of alienating the least decent among their audience bases. The recent silence by companies on the horrifying threats to human rights in America right now might be the most blatant, most indicting instance of this political cowardice to date. Some will argue it's not their job to take a stand. Some will argue they have a right to focus only on video games and ignore the world said video games are produced in. Some will argue that Sony, EA, and others who have committed themselves to mute acceptance of human rights violations owe nobody anything. Okay, let's say for a second all of that is fair. It doesn't make them any less fucking cowardly for it, any less wretched, any less of a letdown to the people they employ and the millions of their customers who are affected by what's happening right now. The United States is currently in the grip of outright theocratic fascism. There is no more suitable a term for it. Republicans have launched an all-out attack on the marginalised across the nation. Over 100 anti-trans bills have been introduced. LGBTQ+ rights, including the previously enshrined gay marriage, are on the table for renegotiation thanks to a GOP-packed Supreme Court, and most blatantly of all, bodily autonomy for all women and the non-cis who are able to give birth is on the line with the recent revelation that said Supreme Court will overturn Roe v. Wade, opening the door for abortion to be banned by states on a whim. This is something that should horrify and terrify all of us, not just those affected. I mean, the blatant hypocrisy alone of elected officials who claim to be against big government intervention, literally trying to exert government rulership over the bodies of American citizens, is by itself fucking dreadful. The fact that previously established rights can be relitigated by a tiny handful of individuals should be a wake-up call as to how fragile anybody's freedom actually is. The idea of one religious belief overwhelmingly dictating what you can and can't do with your own body should disgust even those unaffected by the current threats, provided they possess just one iota of empathy. But according to PlayStation boss and outright fucking charlatan Jim Ryan, the reversal of a human right and the revocation of bodily autonomy is simply an opinion that we have to fucking respect. In a creepy and despicable letter sent out to Sony staff, the executive wormling implied employees ought to keep their mouths shut in regards to the threat against abortion rights. We owe it to each other and to PlayStation's millions of users to respect differences of opinion among everyone in our internal and external communities, mewled this absolute bitch. Respect does not equal agreement, but it is fundamental to who we are as a company and as a valued global brand. Understandably, this pissed off a lot of people because it was fucking grotesque. In the same email, Ryan started rambling on about his cat's birthdays and his desire to get a dog, stating, "Dogs really are a man's best friend. They know their place and perform useful functions like biting burglars and chasing balls that you throw for them. They know their place and they perform useful functions." Yeah, I don't even think that's subtle. Talking about knowing your place and offering your functional utility in an email that's telling you to shut up about abortion rights might be nuanced if you're a sentient fucking sledgehammer, but I think anybody with a shred of ability to read between the lines knows what this fucking dickhead means. It's at this point I'd like to remind you that Sony faces allegations of gender discrimination, which is a totally random non sequitur that has no relevance to the previous discussion. Sony has basically made it policy not to stand by a single statement in favour of abortion rights as revealed by Insomniac CEO Ted Price. According to an internal email, neither Sony nor Insomniac will make any public statements about the subject, nor mention Insomniac's $50,000 donation to the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project, and employees are forbidden from mentioning either Sony or Insomniac if they chose to say anything or share anything on social media. Sony wants to keep a tight leash on its subsidiaries, ensuring that no entity under the PlayStation umbrella says a damn thing about one of the largest scale political attacks on freedom in American history. After Jim Ryan's awful gaffe, Sony is looking at ways to support employees who need financial support should their right to an abortion be taken away from them. But that was only in response to the backlash, and Sony doesn't want anyone to know they're doing it? Or at the very least, they're not going to admit it. All out of a seeming fear of alienating those who quite frankly deserve to be alienated. Those among the hardcore gamer community who notoriously have a massive stick up their ass about the existence of women and the gender non-conforming. This stands in stark contrast to a company that Sony will soon acquire, Bungie, which has stood out among the toothlessness of the mainstream game industry and has been the only high-profile company so far to actually vocally stand by those under attack. While a number of smaller studios like Double Fine have spoken up, Bungie currently remains the biggest company to actually stick up for reproductive rights in the gaming space. At Bungie, we believe that everyone has a right to choose their own path and that freedom is expressed across all facets of life. The leaked draft decision by the US Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade represents a blow to freedom in America and is a direct attack on human rights, Bungie correctly said. Standing up for reproductive choice and liberty is not a difficult decision to make, and Bungie remains dedicated to upholding these values. They are absolutely right. It's not a difficult decision to stand up for freedom and the right to do with your own body as you wish. It's only difficult if you're afraid of pissing off those who don't believe in reproductive rights, i.e. bigots, fascists, and utter fucking twats. Oh, and don't be mistaken, the gaming community is full of bigots, fascists, and utter fucking twats. But they came out in full force to criticise Bungie for daring to get woke and too political like they always fucking do. Sure, you come out in favour of common decency and you're gonna piss off a lot of people in gaming. But Bungie remained undeterred because nobody needs bigots, fascists and utter fucking twats in their community. The sooner they're gone, in fact, the better. And honestly, hats off to Bungie for saying that they will not be muzzled post-acquisition by Sony. I don't know about the possibility of that in practicality, but well done on them for saying it while they have the freedom to do so. Electronic Arts, meanwhile, has taken Sony's route of being wishy-washy, non-committal, useless fucking tools when it comes to human rights. EA, which is always one of the first corporations to big itself up for its progressiveness during Pride Month, has told its staff that it explicitly plans to remain silent on both abortion and trans rights. Yes, while patting itself on the back for its LGBTQ+ diversity, EA has made an active choice to not speak up for its trans staff and customers who are facing such monstrous threats as gender-affirming care being classified as a felony, parents of trans kids being prosecuted for supporting their children, and even an outright ban on social transition as well as medical transition, effectively making it a crime to be openly trans in any way, shape or form. This is on top of sickening plans to have genital inspections for school children, and even plans by some lawmakers to raise the age of consent for gender care to 25, claiming that brains aren't developed enough to consent until then, despite all the shit that can be consented to from much younger ages, such as joining America's precious fucking military. These things are hard and they're personal, and we all have our own perspectives, and sometimes we won't speak, and that will be upsetting, and I understand that. We really do, grovelled Chief People Officer Marla Singh. I know these have been tough issues, whether it's the shootings that happened recently in the US, the Roe v. Wade issues, these are hard. And so one of the other things you're going to see is we're going to be making some more healing circles available through Modern Health. Healing circles. Fucking healing circles. Since before 2018, trans people, myself included, have been warning everyone that the attacks on our community were a wedge issue, a foot in the door that bigots will use to further encroach on other people's rights. And everything we warned about has been happening. The gender-critical movement that has gained undue influence in the UK was proof of this. Gender criticals, aka TERFs, fight against trans rights under the guise of feminism and have for years been funded by right-wing evangelical movements in the United States, the exact groups that fight abortion rights and gay marriage. TERFs and groups like the Heritage Foundation have been platforming and financially supporting each other for years, starting with the mutual goal of killing off trans rights in ways that can only be described as outright genocidal, and ending with dictatorial control over anybody who isn't a cis-het white Christian male. What's grimly funny is that the TERFs, many of whom identify as women and gay, didn't see it coming, or at least pretended not to. They were so focused on attacking trans people that they didn't care they were in bed with groups who planned to go after them next, even while we fucking warned them. In fact, just weeks before many of them reacted with horror to the plans to overturn abortion rights, they were cheering for the plans to overturn trans rights, celebrating the removal of bodily autonomy without a shred of pattern recognition and the realisation that their autonomy would be up for grabs as well. As a politically underrepresented minority, trans people have been historically used to see what bigoted lawmakers can get away with. Because nobody wanted to speak up, they learned they could get away with a fucking lot, and now they're coming for everybody. That's just a very potted version of a long and dreadful history, and with a certain wizarding video game on the horizon, there will be a much more extensive discussion of TERFism in the near future. But all of this is to say one thing. An attack on one group's basic human rights is an attack on all our basic human rights. You don't get to pick and choose here. Either you're for bodily autonomy or you're against it. Either you're for human rights or you're against them. Trans rights are human rights. Reproductive rights are human rights. And failure to stand up for one set of human rights is a failure to stand up for all. When we fail to make that stand, all our rights are at risk. And remaining silent in the face of an oppressive status quo is support for the status quo. Like it or not, aggressive centrism is absolutely a political stance. Failing to make a political statement is itself a political statement. It condones and accepts human rights abuses. It condones and accepts theocratic fascism. Anti-woke gamers, you can throw your aggressive apathy around as much as you want, but like it or not, you're in this. We all are. This wave of political abuse affects your friends, your family, your colleagues, and your silence in the face of it speaks fucking volumes. Your refusal to so much as speak up in support of those targeted is implicit support of the targeting, whether you want to admit that or not. And when you viciously push back against companies like Bungie when they do speak up, when you tell them to shut their mouths, what choice do we have but to assume that you are against human rights? Whether you want to admit it or not. And if none of that is enough, I'll add this. After the past few years where it's become clear that emotional and physical abuse, sexual harassment and gender discrimination is monstrously common in the game industry, the very, very least these companies could have done could have been to speak up now. They fucking owed their employees that much. I'd say they should be ashamed, but these gutless fuckers have no shame at all. Ow, ow, ow. Arthritic knees, ow. Didn't they have elevators in the 1800s? Anyway, that was today's episode, and look, I'm not saying that there isn't a potential cost in having a stand on human rights. Of course there is. I mean, I still maintain that the biggest reason people are unsubscribing from my channel is that I came out as trans. I mean, the exodus started day and date. But if you choose not to believe that, there are other options, the most popular one being that I suddenly, magically got too political in the year 2021. But whatever reason you want to go with, it's still more or less the same genre. I was unrepentant about my beliefs and who I was. That's what it comes down to. And yes, that has cost me big. There is a risk involved in daring to make a stand and caring about things that aren't just video games. I mean, that is what we have learned over the years, is that the hardcore gamer set literally has nothing else going on except video games and wants nothing else going on except for video games. But there's a flip side to that factoid. Yes, the hardcore gamers only care about video games and they only want to hear about video games. But that means there's actually very little risk to a game publisher making a stand, or indeed doing anything controversial. I mean, let's look at Ubisoft. You know I love to do that. Ubisoft was caught covering for sex abusers, and the gamers didn't give a shit. They just wanted to hear about Far Cry. Just look at the times they've tried to organise boycotts against video games that go against their beliefs. Just look at every single time a developer or a publisher has upset the gamer crowd. They talk a big game about making a stand, about voting with their wallets, but they don't. Or rather they do, and the vote is in favour of tacit acceptance of anything these companies do. You can't turn them away. More to the point, these are multi-million, multi-billion dollar corporations. The few people, the few bigots that they're gonna piss off is a drop in the ocean. Bigots that will buy, consume, play, enjoy their games anyway. I think this is something Bungie might actually know, that ultimately the very worst they will face is some snotty bullshit remarks on Twitter. That's not to say Bungie isn't being bold, isn't demonstrating some brass, especially in the face of a corporate acquisition where inevitable corporate restructuring, aka layoffs, is an ever-present threat. However, Sony, EA, are you really afraid of these people? Are you really afraid of alienating the worst among us? Or is it not so much the community you're afraid of, but Republicans themselves? I mean, who knows who you're in bed with? You executives who love to throw your money around and donate to some of these queerphobic, misogynistic, racist pieces of shit. I mean, let's face it, you're a bunch of wealthy, classist elitists and you're all in it for yourselves. You're all in it to scratch each other's backs and maintain your grip over the rest of us. Oh, make no mistake, they're coming for poor people as well, which is actually a lot of you. You think they're going to be done when they get rid of abortion, when they get rid of the transes? Do you think they're going to be done? They're already talking about stripping public education. They're obsessed with the so-called white genocide, the great replacement, the theory that white people will become a minority. And that, by the way, is what has inspired so many of the mass shootings that America keeps fucking having, that Electronic Arts basically shrugged off as a sad little thing that we need fucking healing circles about. And I know that some of you watching, or at least those of you watching some alt-right dickhead do a takedown video on me, I know you people think that I'm having some sort of meltdown, some sort of breakdown, and the truth is, how fucking couldn't you? How could you not all be on the verge of a goddamn mental breakdown when you see your human rights on the line, bandied about, batted around, played with like this is a sport, like this is a game played by a small, tiny handful of wealthy elites whose hands are around all your throats. Thank God for me.